Hey, what's up you guys? This is my June wrap up and I only read 11 books this month, which I know is still quite a lot, but I was reading like 16 books usually before, so a little bit less. But to be honest, it's kind of a better thing because I was not having enough time to even speak about all the books, my wrap ups, because I don't like making super long videos, like even anything above like 12 minutes, I'm like, don't want to upload that, but I don't know, just I have this number of like 12 minutes in my mind, which is like the perfect video length. But yeah, today we are going to be talking about 10 of those books because one of them I already spoke about in my LGBT classics video, the last one, and that was Better Angel, so I'll have that linked in the description. And I just want to say I completely failed Ancient Sithon. I DNF'd Paradise Lost after 2 chapters, I DNF'd Sappho's Poetry after 5 pages, I didn't even pick up the Odyssey actually. I took it to London with me and it sat in my suitcase the entire time. I didn't read a single page. And then the plays, didn't even pick it up, didn't even look at it, forgot it existed until this exact moment. So I apologise to Jennifer and Tori. I tried. I actually was so excited for Paradise Lost and it was just like impossible to read. I don't know, I just didn't understand anything. And Sappho's Poetry, I just wasn't in the mood. The actual poems themselves, I was enjoying like the 2 or 3 that I read, but the Penguin Classics edition is like a poem on the right and then the analysis on the left, and I just realised I didn't really care that much about the analysis. Like there's so much historical knowledge about like ancient times and I was like, oh, I just don't really feel like I care about this right now. So I will return to that at some point because I do want to make a video on Sappho's Poetry, but yeah. Failed Ancient Sithon, but did have a good reading month with the rest of the books. So if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and please subscribe, and I'm going to shut up. So I have read 3 books for a vlog that came out in June, and that was Reading Mooney Reads Favourite Books. If you have not watched that vlog, please go check it out. I was so happy with it. It kind of flopped a little bit, but you know, that series I think is going to flop usually, but I read 3 amazing books that were all favourites of my friend Monica, and the first one was Rebecca by Daphne the Maurier, and this is my new second favourite book of the year. It is like so close behind The Bell Jar, whereas like in my head they're both like number 1, but The Bell Jar wins. So this is my number 2 favourite book of the year. It is like a kind of gothic mystery about a woman who gets married to a new husband and then she goes back to his huge manor house called Manderley, and there the ghost of his ex-wife, but not the actual physical ghost, more like a mental ghost, is like following her everywhere she goes. Like she cannot escape from being underneath the shadow of Rebecca, and I just absolutely loved this novel. There's not a single thing wrong with it. It is the most perfect, like 5-star, like I would give it 6 stars if I could. It is like above and beyond perfection. I don't have a single issue with it, and I was just obsessed with the writing. It was so like beautiful, and the setting of Manderley, I absolutely am just obsessed with it. I think about it every day. Like I literally woke up from a nap about 20 minutes ago, and I woke up and the first thing I thought when I woke up was last night I slept, oh my god, I just messed up the quote. Last night I dreamt of Manderley again, and like it is just iconic in every sense of the word. I am just so obsessed with Rebecca. I watched the old movie, the Alfred Hitchcock one from like the 40s or something like that. I watched the new Netflix one, which was okay. I didn't love the new Netflix one, but Armie Hammer though, in a good way. I know he's like problematic, but in a good way. I'm just obsessed with the story, the characters. It is so, I shouldn't even say it. Okay, it is a toxic relationship, but I love it. Like I'm here for it. I felt it was so romantic. Like even though I know that it's problematic and toxic, and in real life I would not support that. But in the context of the book, I was like, this is so romantic. I was like, this is the most romantic book I've ever read. So I just absolutely am obsessed with Rebecca. And I think that everyone should read it like on planet Earth. I am just obsessed with the capital O. For the same vlog, I also read Severance by Ling Ma. And this is a dystopian novel about a pandemic that actually comes from China. And it actually is more of a contemporary than like sci-fi dystopian novel, I feel like, because there's a lot of time spent in the past, like pre-pandemic and like building up to the pandemic, and it's a very internal in a lot of ways. A lot of the stuff is going on in the character's head. She's like reflecting back on memories and her life and her family and her status as a Chinese immigrant, I'm pretty sure. yeah, she's like a Chinese immigrant in the US, and it talks about like social issues related to immigration and stuff. And I did really enjoy it. I just didn't have those expectations going in. I thought it was going to be more of like a classic kind of sci-fi dystopian, but it was very much, you know, introspective with a lot of focus on like the past and her relationships and her life and building up who she is as a person. So I did really enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. I would definitely recommend it. I would say go into it knowing that it is much more of a quiet, like chill novel and a lot more time like spent in the character's head and memories and stuff rather than a dystopian where people are like running around doing things and there's action and stuff. Like there is a little tiny bit of that, but not really. It's more of a just a quiet like character study with like the pandemic as a like means to an end to get this character to explore her past and her traumas. Also, for that vlog, the third and final book I read was Do You Dream of Terra 2 by Temi O, and I absolutely loved this. This was like a classic space drama, sci-fi novel, like set in like a space shuttle type thing. It gave me much vibes, that is terrible English. It really gave me the vibes of the Alien franchise, you know, just being like trapped in space and like no one can hear you scream, like there's no help like nearby and things go wrong and it's just up to the crew to save themselves, and I absolutely loved it. I really didn't really have any issues at all. I loved all the characters. You changed perspectives quite a lot, but all the characters were so dynamic and like dimensional, and all of them were unique but also realistic. I don't know, I just really liked all of the characters apart from one. There was one character who, but you're not supposed to like him really. And he kind of redeemed himself near the end, but yeah, I just absolutely love this novel, to be honest, and I don't really have anything bad to say about it. I wouldn't call it like a new favourite though. Like it wasn't like one that is going to really stick with me, but in terms of like reviewing it, I had nothing bad to say, and I was actually a debut, and I think this is one of the best debut novels I've ever read. Like I was just really impressed with it, and I would highly recommend it if you're into sci-fi. And even if you're not into sci-fi, it's very light on like the sciencey stuff. It's much more of like a kind of disaster novel almost. I don't know. I would just really, really highly recommend it to beginners of sci-fi, pros at sci-fi. Like I really think this is such an accessible book to anyone. So because I loved Rebecca so much, I then went to my library and got another Daphne du Maurier book, and this was Jamaica Inn. And I did love this one as well, but I only gave it 4 stars. It wasn't as iconic to me as Rebecca. This one was about a girl who, when her mother dies, she doesn't have a father. She has to go live with her aunt, who is her mother's sister, and her husband, who she has never met, at Jamaica Inn, which is down on the very, very like south coast of England. Actually, where I was kinda this month. So that's kind of fun, but I wasn't in that exact area. Anyway, and it is about, I don't know how much I can say without giving away spoilers, but basically her uncle is not a nice man, and the Jamaica Inn is now like a place where none of the locals will go. It has a terrible reputation of being like where terrible illegal things happen, and it's a little bit of a mystery, but the actual reveal, the main reveal comes about halfway through. So I'm being very careful not to like say anything, but basically we find out what her uncle is up to and why the reputation of the inn is like so terrible and what illegal things are going on there. And I did really enjoy it. I thought the main character was really interesting because this is a more historical one. It was set in like the 1820s, 1830s kind of area. And the main character really pushes the boundaries of what a woman at that time would be able to do on her own while still being realistic, I think. So she is very independent and she really goes out her way to, you know, try and solve the mystery and try and save herself and her aunt. But at the same time, she isn't like Superwoman. She isn't, you know, fighting crime and like fighting these big evil men that are doing bad things and stuff. Like she is a little bit of a damsel in distress, but not in like a bad way. I would say like in a realistic way. So I really enjoyed this, and I don't think it was as strong as Rebecca, but I do think it is iconic in its own way. And I would love to visit Jamaica Inn, like the real life one, which exists at some point, because that would just be so fun. So yeah, I really enjoyed Jamaica Inn, and I'm also just going to quickly mention I read The Breakthrough by Daphne du Maurier, and this was just like a short story, and it dealt with like, it was actually a sci-fi one, which is quite different obviously from Rebecca and Jamaica Inn, and it deals with like some questions about like life and death and the human soul and life after death and that type of stuff. And I enjoyed it enough. I gave it 3 stars, which means I did like it, but it just didn't blow me away or anything. It was interesting reading like a sci-fi from Daphne du Maurier, but I didn't like love it. So I just don't really have much to say about it. It was just like a little short story. I think it was like 50 pages. It was in the Penguin Moderns like editions. So yeah, I am such a Daphne du Maurier stan, and I really want to read more. I think I'm going to read My Cousin Rachel next, and then also Frenchman's Creek maybe. I don't know. I just want to read all of her books right now. I'm such in like a mood to just dive into her entire back catalogue. The next book I read was 90s Kids by Savvy Lester. Savvy is a author tuber, and she also makes videos about like multi-level marketing and stuff, so I'll link her channel down below. She makes really interesting videos. I don't always even care about the topic, but she has such an interesting personality that I find myself just watching like random videos about multi-level marketing people who are like apparently famous in like that world, and I don't know who they are, but there's always so much drama. Anyway, her channel's fun, so I'll link it down below, but she normally self-publishes, and this is her first traditionally published book, and it is a sapphic romance about 2 girls. One is from 2006, 2007, and then the other one is from 2016, 2017, and they are both sent back in time, and they meet in the past, and they have to try and also, well, 1, find a way back home, 2, avoid the authorities, like the time travel police, I guess you would call it, and 3, just like enjoy their life in the past with like no responsibilities and being on their own for the first time and being away from their family, and also discovering their own interest into each other. And it's a little bit of like a discovery of sexuality novel in a way, but it's all like very lightly handled for the most part, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cute and fun. Savvy also brought in some like important discussions though, obviously, on biphobia and like homophobia, especially because they're taken back to the past. I think they go to 1989, and then it goes, there's like a New Year's scene, I'm pretty sure it goes into 1990, and it's called 90s Kids. I can't really remember the dates, but I just thought that Savvy handled all the topics like really well. You know, the more serious sides were handled good, but they never like brought the book down into like being like depressing or anything, and it was such a, like a hopeful, like nice tone to the entire thing. I just thought it was really well written, and I know that Savvy really cares about these topics. She is very out and proud about being a bisexual herself, and she's always writing stuff about that on Twitter and everything. So I just thought this was like a really well written book, and it's very fast paced. There's always something going on as well. Like I was never bored. I basically binge read this in like the space of a day in London. Like every time I was on like the bus or the tube or in the airport, I was like reading away, and I would just highly recommend this if you're interested in like YA books about lesbian couples / bisexuality, that type of thing. Another self-published book I read this month was Welcome Descent by Cam Wolfe. This is a horror novel, and also I will say that Cam is also a booktuber / author tuber, so I'll have his link down below as well. He is really funny, and he's like Australian. He has like a funny sense of humour, and he makes really good content, so definitely check him out in the description. But anyway, so Welcome Descent is a horror novel about a man, Joseph, who is not a nice character. He has done a lot of very bad things in his life. His family don't see him anymore because of it. He is just like miserable, and he lives on his own in this apartment building, and one night a storm starts to come in and he's trapped in the apartment. It is like the worst storm the city has ever seen, and out of the storm creatures start to come and infect people out in the apartment and make them into like monsters. And then also just like his apartment itself, things start to rot, the furniture and stuff starts to break, like everything just starts to turn into this like horror landscape inside the apartment, and it's very claustrophobic and he cannot escape. And I thought it was very, very well done, and the monsters start to force him to confront all the bad things he's done in his life. So we go into his memories, but they're obviously distorted and he's viewing them from like outside position, and it's just like very horrific. There's a lot of just disturbing and like gory things that go on in this book, and it's a very gory exploration of like a character's past. I don't know how to describe it. Like you really get deep into this character's mind, but through like a horror lens, and I just absolutely loved it. I thought it was very well written. I think that it is very serious in tone a lot of the time, but then there's also like humorous moments and some things that, you know, even though they're horrific, they're entertaining, which is like the perfect balance obviously in like a horror novel. Like you want to still be entertained even when things are like sad or disturbing and stuff. And I just think the Cam really done this well and really struck that good balance of making things like bleak and horrific, but then also entertaining. And I thought it was very well written. I really enjoyed it. Joseph, although he is so unlikable and he's done so many horrific things, you still feel yourself like feeling for him. And what I also really love is that all the stuff with the monsters and him exploring his past and stuff, you actually don't really know if it is happening in real life or it's all in his head, like if he's being like having delusions or if these things are actually real. And Cam gives you like some breadcrumbs to lead you in one direction, and then next thing you know he's like leading you some breadcrumbs to the other direction, and you're just like wondering like how much of this is real, how much is made up in his head. And it's just very well written. I thought it was really great and I would highly recommend it. There is like content warnings for like sexual violence, just violence in general. They're like the main ones I would say. Like it is like definitely an adult horror novel, so you can like obviously kind of guess what type of stuff's in there, but I just absolutely loved this and I think it was great. So getting to the end now, I read my girl Sylvia Plath's poetry. I read Ariel, which is the collection of poems that she was working on when she killed herself and was then published after her death, and I really enjoyed it for poetry. I will say I actually do quite enjoy poetry recently because I've been exploring it quite a lot, and I've read quite a lot of it actually this year, but I still find myself struggling to work out like, you know, the deeper meanings and stuff of a lot of it. And these poems were pretty dark, pretty depressing, and I love that. I love those vibes. And I thought they were really well written for, obviously I'm not like a poetry scholar. I don't really know what's well written and what's not, but I really like the imagery and stuff in this. There was like 4 different poems all about bees, and that really struck me as like, okay, what is the relevance of bees to Sylvia Plath's life? And then it led me down like a research rabbit hole, which I love, like when books prompt you to do that. And her father, oh my god, I forgot now. I don't know if he worked with bees or it was just like a hobby, but he like wrote a book about bees. Like his father was like interested in bees, and then she's obviously using this bee imagery, and I loved like finding those connections and stuff like that. And there was one poem, I cannot remember the name right now, I'll put it on the screen right here, that was my favourite, I think. I just really loved the imagery of that one from what I remember. But yeah, I don't know. I just really thought they were cool and I want to read more, obviously. I just want to read everything by Sylvia Plath. She is a god to me. She is everything that I want to be. I love her. And then finally this month, I listened to the audiobook of Becoming by Michelle Obama. I have wanted to read this for so long, like literally since I joined booktube, and last month I listened to A Promised Land by Barack Obama, so I was like, you know what, it's time, the stars have aligned, I need to read Becoming or listen to it. And Michelle narrates her herself, which is obviously like one of the big selling points, and I just loved listening to her talk about her early life, like growing up in Chicago, becoming very successful on her own, becoming a very successful lawyer, going to law school and like a very prestigious school, was it Harvard or something? I can't remember. But basically she was like on top of the world basically, and then she met Barack and their romance obviously started, and I just loved listening to her talk about her thoughts on him and how they met, and then obviously like them making a family together, her trying to be a working mother, like, you know, work full time, and then also support her kids and be there for her kids. And I just absolutely love the Obama family. You can just tell like how much they love each other. You can just tell like Michelle is an amazing mother. Like she puts everything on the line for her kids basically, and I just absolutely loved this story. And I think that if you're wanting something to listen to that is almost like just a podcast, this is like the perfect book to listen to. She just has like such an amazing voice obviously, and just such an interesting story, so highly recommend. So as you can tell, June was an amazing reading month. I read so many amazing books. I discovered Daphne du Maurier, I read some Sylvia Plath, I read some Michelle Obama. I just had like such a good month in general, so I am so happy with the books that I read. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and please subscribe. Please, if you have watched this far, leave a blue heart emoji. And if you can't leave emojis because you're on your laptop, say the word cheetah. Just put the word cheetah somewhere on your comment, or just say the word cheetah. I don't know. I don't even know why cheetah just came to my mind. But anyway, yeah, if you enjoyed, please leave a like, etc, etc. And I will see you in my next video.